Welcome to Beyond Referrals, the podcast exploring how trust, growth, and client relationships in financial services are evolving in the digital and AI age. I'm your host, Emily Armstrong. Let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome back to Beyond Referrals. This is episode 4, and we are going to dive all into the topic of the hidden costs of referral-only growth. So last episode, we just laid the foundation of how AI is changing the landscape and the value of advisors. And today we're talking about really what you're missing out on if you have a referral-only business model as your main and only way of organic growth. So, shall we dive in? Let's do it. I'm so glad you're here. Let me first start off with a picture and an example with a story, because me as a marketer, I am a big fan of story examples and telling you things through not just telling you, but showing you. Follow me along here. I also used to work in advertising and innovation agencies, mostly for premium consumer packaged goods. So I'm going to give you an example from my old agency days. Let's imagine that you are building a premium beverage brand. Clean ingredients, high-end positioning, very premium price. To be clear, I am definitely the target consumer of these premium beverage brands, like a better for you soda, okay? And a drink like that should be curated in environments like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, boutique coffee shops, or curated retail environments. You could even have an influencer brand strategy for that. That all makes sense for a premium beverage brand like that to target the ideal consumer for what that product is. And having a referral-only business is like this. Instead of building your distribution strategy to be in alignment with that product and the ideal consumer who would buy and sell that product for you because they're posting about it, they're raving about it, all the things, you just hand your premium beverage to your truck driver who does the distribution and you say to them, just drop it off wherever you think it makes sense, or whoever comes to mind, hand it there and just leave it in those distribution channels. Or any good people who want this soda, give it to them. So now your product ends up in gas stations, discount stores, places where your ideal customer is not, and your brand becomes aligned with all of those different marketplaces. And you're not going to have success in Whole Foods or with this strategy because you put your resources, you distributed them widely, unstrategically in places that you shouldn't be in. So in this example, this is literally what it's like to leave your growth to referrals only. You outsource your growth and your brand to chance and to your clients. So the old belief is this. In this industry, we have been taught something very clearly, and the businesses that came up and were built in the past 20 to 40 years really operated on this model and on this thinking, that referrals are the best and main way to grow. And let me be clear, referrals are very powerful and they're not going anywhere. And I build my business with referrals. So I'm not anti-referral by any means, but we need to look at this strategically. So referrals are powerful. They convert, they come with built-in trust, they're warm, and some of your best clients have probably come from referrals. That's how it always is, right? So because this used to work so well and this used to be the main way of growth, the belief became if I take really good care of my clients, they're going to refer people just like them. I'm going to have this awesome book of business and my business will grow and I'll be fine because I'm always going to have these clients. I'm always just going to ask them for referrals. And that was simple and it works, right? But it's missing a very critical piece today. So here is what has changed to really challenge that referral only building model. What's actually happening inside most firms is this. Referrals aren't a strategy anymore. They are an outcome. And when they become your only driver and channel of organic growth, you lose control over 3 very critical things about your company and your practice. You lose control of who you attract, how you're positioned, and how you scale. Let me say those three things again: who you attract, how you are positioned to your prospects, and how you scale your business. Because referrals alone, your clients are your distribution strategy, just like in the soda example. They decide who to introduce you to, how to describe what you do, when to bring you up, or whether or not to bring you up, when to follow up with that referral, when to advocate for you, and whether it happens at all for that matter. And so here's the problem with that: your clients are not marketers. Let me say that again. Your clients are not marketers. Maybe you do work with a marketer. Great. They can be your marketer, right? But you should not leave marketing up to your clients. They're not thinking about your ideal client profile. They're not thinking about your positioning or your strategic messaging. They're not thinking about the future of your business. They're just thinking about who comes to mind. Even if you have tailored referral language, which you should, right? So if you are going to use referrals as your main driver, it needs to be tailored, and you need to stop asking them, who's your best friend, or who comes to mind, or even like generic questions like that with referrals. So my point of view on this is that referral only is not a marketing strategy. It's an outcome, and it's something that should be leveraged as part of a marketing strategy. It's a leg in the stool, it's not the whole stool. And when you think about your entire business being limited to referrals, or to that being the only way that clients are coming in your door, it creates a lot of exposure and vulnerabilities for your business. It's a fragile way to build a business because you've outsourced your growth to people who are not responsible for your growth and who are not marketers. So they should exist, but it's not the whole strategy. This shows up in some predictable ways. So look at a firm's client base, especially ones who have been around for, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and it's all over the place. They have different types of clients with different levels of complexity, different expectations. And even if they have, let's call it 3 avatars, those avatars are referring people, and like this net just gets bigger and bigger and wider. And so that I've been in firms where that has been a real issue operationally with scale, with how do we serve these clients? And when you continue to expand down that referral only path, it just kind of gets wider and a little bit more messy. And over time, that just starts to create some problems with operations. So it's harder to standardize your onboarding process. It's harder to specialize your expertise in your client experience. It's harder to scale your team. It's harder to articulate what you actually do. And so it just becomes hard to grow, quite simply. And the real hidden cost is this: it's not just slower growth, but it's misaligned growth. It's building a business where your clients don't fully look like each other, your messaging stays generic, your services stay broad, and your brand really never evolves or becomes its own entity and sharpens. It's like a soda company who dabbles in the premium, and they also create a low cost beverage, and they also create like a blue raspberry beverage. That would be really hard to operationally support like 6 different types of soda SKUs that are not even in the same category. That's the same thing that we're talking about here with a referral only business. So if you wanted to build a premium brand, staying consistent with this soda brand example, you would define exactly who it's for, define the name, the look, the vibe, where it should be sold, control how it's positioned, and protect the environment that it shows up in. You wouldn't leave that to chance. But in advisory firms, why do we leave all of that up to chance? Why do we put that on the responsibility of our clients? I think that's kind of crazy. So referrals are essentially saying, hey, take this product that I have or this business that I built, and just wherever you think it should go, just you decide. So I think you get the point, right? But the shift is this: a book of clients. Even if you have been in business for a very long time and you have a lot of clients and you have a big team, that's not the same thing as a brand or even a business model. A business with a defined brand has a defined market, a clear point of view, positioning that's very, very unmistakable, and a repeatable way to bring that to market and to grow. So let's think about this from going from passive growth to intentional growth and break this down into 2 layers. Layer 1 is passive growth. So this is referrals. It's relationship driven. It's unpredictable. It's outside your control. And it's a way that you can grow and can onboard clients, but it should not be the only way. And you should really think about streamlining that and making that intentional. So passive growth is the referrals that come in. You're still going to get this, okay? But layer 2, when you add intentional growth and you really build a brand intentionally, this is where you define who you work with best, who you want to trust you, who you want to attract, what problems you solve for them, how you communicate that, and how people find you consistently. And then you can use all of that with when people are referring you, how they're referring you, you can help them and equip them better. So, what this looks like in practice, this is where a lot of advisors and teams get it wrong. They think that marketing means client gifts, holiday gifts, occasional newsletters, events, sponsorships. Those are some parts of marketing, but I would argue they're not the things that are going to give you new clients. They're just the tactics that you've maybe done and have been used to. But my philosophy is that marketing should never be separate from new client acquisition when it comes to this business and this industry. Every ounce of anything that you spend on marketing, energy, money, time, that should directly lead pipeline, give you pipeline. So things like gifts and events are not a marketing strategy. They are some things within an overall strategy, but they're not the strategy. So a real marketing strategy starts with clarity first. Who do we serve very specifically? How do we serve them? Why do they need us? What's at stake for them if they don't work with us? And everything else sharpens when you do that. Everything that you're doing can really be tailored and targeted to the people that you want to serve with your business. And your soda and your product can get in front of the right people with the right message in the right places, and everything you're doing will just make more sense. It will be more effective. So, 2 to 3 practical next steps. Let's go there. If you're listening to this and you're realizing you have relied really heavily on referral only growth, here's where I would start. First, you need to define your ideal client very clearly and specifically. If your clients can't easily describe who you work with and how you help them, then your referrals are always going to be more random and more generic than they could be. So that's always where to start. Second, audit your current client base. Are there specific patterns that you can notice? Most advisors I'm talking with, I ask them, who's your niche or who do you work with? And they list 3 to 4 buckets of people. And so you already likely know the buckets that you have and start to think about that. Like, who are my clients? What are they like? Do I want to keep growing this client base or this other one or a whole new client base? So audit your client base and get specific about who you want more of and who you want less of. So closing out this episode, referrals are powerful and they're not going anywhere. And you absolutely should continue getting really strong referrals from your happy clients who love you, know you, like you, and trust you already. But referrals alone were never meant to carry the weight of organically growing your entire business, because when you rely on them alone, you don't control your growth. You leave that to chance. And I really can't think of any other business that does that. So why should you do it in your business? If this episode resonated with you, please like it, download it, share it with a friend. You're not the only one who might be struggling with this message right now. Connect with me and tell me what stood out to you most. And stay tuned for the next episode. We're going to dive deeper into client expectations and how that's changing as well. So thank you so much for listening to the show. Until next time, keep growing, modernizing, and adapting beyond referrals. I'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. If this conversation resonated with you or you learned something new, make sure you follow the podcast so you don't miss out on future episodes. And do me a favor, like and subscribe and share this episode with a friend. Comment on anything that you want to see or hear more of in the future as well. You can also stay connected by subscribing to the Wonder Weekly newsletter and connect with me, Emily, on LinkedIn at Emily Armstrong or Instagram, Emily Armstrong 2.0, for more insights on building modern client service firms. Until next time, keep on adapting, modernizing, and growing beyond referrals.